is Ben.
And I'm Leonard Nimoy.
He's Jake, not Mr. Spock or the original host of In Search Of, which was a great show. Don't get me wrong. And we are so glad to have you with us tonight as we talk about some of the missing 411 David Paulides shit. Yeah. That's what we're doing, right?
Doesn't his last name kind of sound like a disease?
Yes, it does. If you were a loved one.
And this is how we get into BetterHelp.
If you were a loved one who suffered from paulitis.
Please go missing in the woods.
Please go missing in the woods. If you were a loved one who's gone missing in the woods.
You may or may not have you might have the paulitis.
You may be suffering from paulitis. Symptoms include going missing in the woods, making shit up, having a cop stash. Anyway.
Possibly being found dead miles and miles and miles away from where you were last seen.
Without your clothes.
Or with someone else's.
Well, that's just a party.
Then I guess we got a party for a story tonight.
Yeah. Which ones we're talking about here, Bob?
Well, first, there's something that we got to say. We got an Audible thing. Someone bought a coffee and... Did you see that or no?
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
yeah, so I was thinking I would read that.
An Audible? We got a Audible review?
The dude was looking for something on Audible and stumbled upon us.
Oh, hey.
Dorwin Gray.
Dorwin. How you doing, buddy? Thanks
and
for
I
everything.
love how he wrote this. Because one of these words I have never heard in an actual sentence before.
All right, well, hit me with it. I'm fucking excited.
First off, Dorwin Gray bought a coffee. I didn't even know they could leave reviews on this.
But
thanks for the coffee.
Or on
the coffee thing.
Oh, yeah. Neither did I, but thanks. We appreciate it.
I happened onto your podcast while searching audible.com for a story by author Neil Gaiman entitled Black Dog.
Your style, sir. Anyway, go ahead.
Your episode on supernatural stories featuring dogs, hounds, etc. came up in the search results. What serendipity! I listened on Audible to your episode about scary telephone calls. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
No, thank you. We really do appreciate it. That helps out a lot, believe it or not. In a lot of ways. So, thanks a lot.
Now Ben can continue drinking on the podcast.
Thanks for the coffee. All right, bud.
Okay. So, I'm not going to get like super into the David Paulides thing because I want people to believe this episode.
Fair enough.
But just like a little why I did this story. Derek has brought it up and he likes his conspiracy weird shit.
That he does.
And also a couple of years ago we dedicated one of our episodes to one of our friends who had passed away, Todd. And I had a dream about him like a week ago. And so when I woke up, I started going through the text, like just see what we said to each other. And one of the last things he said to me was he wanted me to do an episode on this. So, sorry it's late, man.
Well, I mean, if he's in heaven, he'll never hear this, but I'm sure they play it on loudspeakers in hell.
We can get that one demon guy to send him a link.
Fair enough.
What'd you name him again? Or what was his name?
Yeah.
Sonny and Cher?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Get the Chick-fil-A's.
The
He'll come
Chick-fil-A
back.
sauce. I gotta get him back.
All right. So there have been a series of books published by a feller named David Paulides, The Disease, which is all about many, 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 many disappearances that have and continue to occur inside or near national parks worldwide. Although he mainly sticks to North America. Um, so it's understandable if you're like, well, it's hundreds of thousands of acres. It's easy to get lost. However, his cases have a little bit more strangeness to it. There's a certain what's the word? Starts with a C. He's got other shit that he has for these.
Coincidence?
Not coincidence.
Oh.
There's certain types of reasons why this is different from the others. I can't think of the word. Halfway through the episode, I will, though.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, people going in huge, thick forests, it's not abnormal. However, these people disappear in a matter of seconds a lot of the time. They'll disappear right in front of someone, kind of. Just weird things to where he wanted to do more research. And more often than not, there's no reason found. So a couple of the criteria, that's a word.
There you go. There it was.
Yeah. Some of the criteria is like people will go missing or be found right near creeks or rivers. That's like a geological cluster of where a lot of the stuff happens. Bad weather usually like hits right when the search party goes out, so they can't continue. There's swamps, they play a big role in it. And a lot of them happen late afternoon, like where the sun's still out and they're around a group of people or at least close by a group of people. And then if a person is found alive, they're usually unwilling or unable to remember what happened to them. And as weird as it sounds, some berries are involved. Like, in a lot of them, like berry bushes. Don't know why. So, this story is just like, it's one of the really weird ones. Like, at first, you're like, okay. But then you're like, this is on Paranatural Podcast, so this is fucked up. So, this account, David, Mr. The Disease Paulides, he changed the names to protect the identity of the family, but this occurred in 2010. And it's by, a hotspot of weird shit.
Allegedly.
Well, no. You did the episode, Ben.
Which episode?
Mount Shasta.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Pretty sure we
Is that broken?
we just put like 9 of those at the beginning of the Mount Shasta episode, so go ahead.
Okay. So this is about a child who was 3, 4-ish years old and went missing. We're gonna call him John. So John was camping with his family on the large banks of a large creek. At approximately 6 p.m., John disappeared. The parents searched for their son for a number of hours before contacting the local sheriff and the United States Forest Service. Approximately 5 hours after John went missing, he was found lying in a thicket directly next to a trail of searchers. So, like, why didn't they find him before? Because they had just scoured all the trails, but he was right there.
That is also one of Mr. Paulides's
Bless you.
criteria. Is that often when the person is found, they are found somewhere that has been searched
Several times.
Yes.
So a lot of these cases, people don't usually show up or they're found dead. So we can't hear what happened to them or they got the memory worm. However, this little fellow is talkative. So the parents of this little child face contacted Mr. Disease about after hearing about his investigation into these weird disappearances, and they contacted him with a pretty strange story. So about 3 weeks after the incident, the kid's grandma says her grandson told her that he didn't like his other grandma Cappy. Cappy is the boy's name for Grandma Kathy. You know this one? You're smiling.
We did this one on the Mount Shasta episode, pal.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't listen to this. Did we do the grandma part too?
Yeah, the robot grandma.
No. The grandma's story.
Yeah. Yeah, I did all that.
Well, we'll see you next week. Oh, Shasta was like 2 years ago.
I know.
Next. Jim McCrogan.
Okay, we didn't do this one.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. He disappeared March 14th, 2014. His body was found April 3rd, 2014 in Booth Falls, Vale, Colorado. 39-year-old Dr. Jim McGrogan was visiting Vale in March 2014, a small town at the base of Vale Mountain and the center of a huge ski resort set within the White River National Forest in Colorado. During this trip, he became separated from his group on a hike, and his body was found a few weeks later. Just misadventure, or bad luck, or something else. So, who was he? He was a doctor who had recently returned to Indiana from Wisconsin to work in the emergency room of St. Joseph Regional Medical Center in Mishawaka.
Yeah.
Mishawaka,
Mishawaka,
Okay.
Indiana.
Okay. So, on the morning of March 14th, 2014, about 8:30 a.m., Jim and 3 hiking companions left on a 9-mile hike to the Eisman Hut and beyond to Camp Hale. The camp is a collection of huts deep in the mountains to serve as temporary shelters for hikers or campers. The site was originally built in the 1940s as a home of the 10th Mountain Division and a mountain warfare training area. I'm still kind of pissed off about the kid one. I knew it sounded familiar.
Look, after all these years, And that's one of the more famous Paulides stories. So it's not your fault, Jake.
I blame Paulides.
Me too.
Dick.
What a cop-faced wiener.
Yeah, what a dick-faced wiener. At the time, there was a lot of snow in the area, several feet in some areas. There are two main routes from the Vale area to the Eisman Hut. One via Spraddle Creek and a more westerly route via Red Sandstone Creek. It is not clear which route the group took that day, but both were heavily used and well marked with compacted snow. Although the hut was only 4 miles from the group's starting point and right near US Interstate 70, the hike itself was up a meandering 9-mile trail through steep and treacherous wooded terrain, and the hut is not considered easy to reach. One of the reasons that this is a popular target for hikers. Although it was to be a challenging hike, Mr. Dr. McRogan and company were experienced with the outdoors and well prepared. The doctor carried with him a cell phone, medical supplies, a sleeping bag, avalanche beacon, GPS, warm clothing, and plenty of food and water. At about 10 a.m., with the hikers still about 5 miles from the hut, the group stopped to rest. According to his companions, Jim decided to hike on ahead of the party, and they expected to catch up with him along the way. That's how you die.
Yeah, never split the party.
Never.
Never split the party.
After Jim left the others behind to hike on alone, he vanished. When the rest of the group reached the Eisman Hut, it was late afternoon on March 14th. There was no sign of Jim at all. And he was never seen alive again. By 5:30 p.m., the hikers had notified the Vale Department of Public Safety and the Eagle Valley Sheriff's Department. A rescue operation was started over an 18 square mile area, which is quite a bit.
I mean, it depends on. I mean, yes, it's a large area for a person to travel, like 18 square miles. But given the amount of wilderness in the area we're talking about, it's not shit.
Yeah, and as the crow flies, it's not that much either. Jim was well equipped, so the authorities were not too concerned. Food, water, warm clothing. He also was carrying a split snowboard, a snowboard that divides lengthwise. Is that like double as skis or what?
I know fuck all about snowboarding and skiing.
Same, I've never went.
So, I mean, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, plus skins and other equipment from Confluence Kayaks in Denver, and was wearing the boots that went with the board. His cell phone pinged once the day he went missing, but after that, it was dead. Over the next 3 days, teams of searchers on foot, snowmobiles, and 3 helicopters from the National Guard's High Altitude Aviation Training Site, that's HAATS, based
hats.
based in nearby Gypsum, Colorado, searched the area, but by Tuesday, March 18th, bad weather forced the search to be suspended. Crews, I hated how this was worded, but I'm going to say it anyways, just so other people can hate it with me. Crews had spent a combined 1,000 hours searching for McRogan. If you had 1,000 people, that's them all searching in an hour.
Yes.
Which it sounds like they had quite a good search party.
Right. So you get like 100 people. That's like 10 hours of looking.
Not a whole lot.
It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot when you put it like that. A 5-day search failed to find any sign of him, despite snow in the area, which would have indicated someone was hiking or skiing off the trail. 20 days later, his body was found by a group of backcountry skiers about 4.5 miles from the trail on April 3rd, 2014, near the Booth Falls area, way to the east of the Eisman hut. The reporting party told the authorities that he and 2 others were skiing the Booth Falls area, and they located the dead body in an ice fall below Booth Falls, laying on top of an ice sheet. Do you know what an ice fall is?
Is that where the ice fall?
It's like a waterfall, but with ice.
Oh. Interesting. Giant icicles.
Well, it's like, I don't know, it's like a landslide, but with ice. Like a steep edge, and then the ice is all sliding down there.
Okay.
We should know that being in Michigan.
We don't have any mountains, bud.
Sure we do.
What's the ice going to fall down? The roof?
Yeah, I've had it.
That's just called, fuck.
It's about all the time, all you have to say, you know.
Then you get covered in fucking snow.
Or ice.
Or ice.
And die. So he was found wearing his helmet, no coat, no gloves, no boots. In his backpack, his cell phone was discovered, and in this area, there appeared to be a very active cellular reception. Jim's snowboard was also found nearby, but his boots were never found. So this is the autopsy. On April 7th, 2014, Eagle County Coroner Kara Betis, that's another disease name, Betis, said that James died from multiple injuries, including head trauma and to the left side of his chest and a broken femur. His death was ruled an accident. But wait, there's more. What?
But wait, there's more. If
Yeah.
you order now.
Well, I was trying to say it like goodness, I
Billy
can't even think
Mays?
of his name. No,
Oh,
no,
Sir Spooks.
guy,
I don't
the
know, I'm just
captain from
guessing.
Star Trek.
Captain Kirk?
Yeah,
William Shatner?
that's the Shatner. Yeah, I was trying to say it like him. But wait, there's more.
There's someone on the wing. Something out there.
I don't think that's Shatner.
It is.
Ventura,
Huh?
Ace Ventura.
No,
I know.
That's William.
I know,
You
I know.
motherfucker.
I know. But it was
That's
also
I'm
Ace
canceling
Ventura.
this podcast.
Don't. We're on a good track to get canceled on our own.
I know, right? Don't need no help from my ass.
There's someone on the wing.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So what happened to Mr. the Dr. Jim? On March 14th, he hiked 12 to 14 miles, 4.5 miles as the crow flies, across back country in deep snow, up to 8 foot in places, and apparently lost his boots. Perhaps he succumbed to hypothermia and began to undress. Why, though, did he not use his cell phone or the GPS tracker or both? Because they were both fully functional when, they checked him out. His cell phone was alive and the GPS was working. Also, kind of, why did he just go off on his own? That's just dumb. What do you think?
So going off on his own initially, yes, dumb.
Dumb.
But if you get turned around in the mountains, it's not that hard to get as far away as he was.
Dumb.
Just go in the wrong fucking direction.
And then once you start feeling warm, that's when the hypothermia is really kicking in.
Or he discarded his coat to avoid hypothermia if he was
wet,
or beginning to sweat. Something like that. His boots he could have lost in a fucking snowbank.
Yeah.
And then by the time hypothermia sets in, your brain ain't working right. You're not going to use your phone or your GPS.
Yeah. The dude's a doctor. He should be smarter than he was.
If any medical professionals are listening, I'm sorry to stereotype you all, but some of the worst people in a medical emergency that I have ever seen, especially when it comes to themselves and or their children, are medical professionals. They're the first to ignore signs of their own physicality going awry. It's kind of like a mechanic. You ever met a mechanic with a running car? Me either.
I like rye bread.
So who knows? And then he fell down a fucking cliff.
Head trauma?
Maybe.
Chest ventricle.
Yeah.
Broken femur. That'll
fuck your day up. And you're certainly not going to be thinking straight when that happens, especially if you're already hypothermic.
Straight or gay.
Right. Anyway. Next.
Todd Geeb. This one's a weird one. As are all of them.
Are they, though?
They are, though.
Okay.
Instead of, sounding dumb at the beginning of this episode with that story, this is just a sales pitch. Go listen to Mount Shasta if you want to know the story.
Yeah. That was just a teaser. Go through the back catalog.
I'm glad this is on video now so they could see all the awkward winking.
Yeah, right.
So Todd Geeb, he was 22 years old. And last seen at a keg party and bonfire in the early morning hours of Sunday, June 12th, 2005. The party of 100 people was held behind an apple orchard in a rural part of Casnovia, Michigan.
I've never heard of that place.
I think it's somewhere around GR.
Probably why I never heard of it.
Well, you have the Google powers. I don't. I'm reading. A marshy area containing 6 miles of hip-high grass. Geeb apparently left the party to walk to his cousin's home at 291 Moon. Really? We're given addresses where he rented a room. He lived near Half Moon Lake, about 1.5 miles southeast of the party, and may have been seen walking along Moon Road.
So, Casnovia is a village in the U.S. state of Michigan. It is situated on the boundary between Muskegon and Kent counties and lies partially within each. The population was 316 at the 2020 census.
Cool. We learn on this podcast.
Accidentally, but sure.
And we retell stories. Geeb was last heard from during a series of phone calls between 12:47 a.m. and 12:57 a.m. on Sunday. At 12:47, he called the friend who had driven him to the party, and he said that he'd had enough and was walking home. He then called a friend at 12:51, but all he said was, "I'm in a field," before the phone call cut out.
Bro was hammered.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story. Dude was hammered.
The friend called back and heard only what she thought was either breathing or the wind before the call ended. The phone was then used twice over the next few minutes in an attempt to call the friend back, with the last attempt being at 12:57. Gieb's phone was not used again after that. Neither were his credit cards. The area where Gieb was last seen was thoroughly searched 3 times. During one of the searches, an estimated 1,500 volunteers as well as aircraft searched the area around the party site. Nothing was found. 1,500 is a lot of people.
That is 5 times more than the number of people that live in the town he was from. Roughly.
And I bet they put at least 750 hours together combined into searching for him. It's a half hour each.
Sounds like they did quite a bit.
They did. 3 weeks later, on July 2nd, 2005, Todd's body was discovered in a remote pond near the party. It was reported, according to the couple who had found Todd, he was standing upright in Obenhall Lake. They remember it distinctly because his head and shoulders were sticking out of the water. With a blood alcohol content of 0.12, which that's not that high.
I mean,
like he probably had a good buzz going, but
you know, you're right. I mean, unless you're lightweight. Like I know some people that can get a little bit tipsy off of just a couple of wine coolers. But yeah, like for me or you, we're feeling good at that point. And no, we should not drive, but I'm not gonna wander off and call my whomever and be like, I'm in the field.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So, blood alcohol content of 0.12. The cause of death was ruled drowning. The manner of death was ruled undetermined. The Michigan State Police closed Todd's case. One police officer initially provided speculation to Gieb's mother, Kathy, that her son had gone for a swim, but it didn't make sense. Gieb was found fully clothed with his wallet in his pocket. Gieb's family does not believe the official ruling. They believe Todd died as a result of homicide. In 2009, 4 years after this, his autopsy report and recovery photos were received by a Dr. Michael Secureka. Cool name. A board-certified forensic pathologist and CEO of Forensic Identification and Profiling Laboratory. Goodness, what a mouthful. He showed the file to his team, other investigators who also shared the data at an international convention of medical examiners, all agreed with the doctor that Todd, who had been missing for 3 weeks, had been dead for 2 to 5 days. Despite these...
That math ain't mathing.
Right? With these new findings, the Michigan State Police refused to reopen Todd's case.
Good job, MSP. Turds.
In March 2010, Kathy, his mother, told WZZM 13, "We can't bring him back." Huh?
Sorry. It's a Bob and Tom joke.
"We can't bring him back with an investigation, but Todd deserves justice." It's almost like saying Todd's life is worth nothing when we all have the evidence and no one turns back to see what happened. Kathy is still fighting to get the case reopened. A small rally, Justice for Todd, was held June 10, 2012, in Ravenna, Michigan, to help urge police to change their mind. There was no water in his lungs. From what we have found from the professionals is that he had been placed in the water after he was dead. They are 100% in agreement that this case, there were clues missed. So, blood alcohol content of 0.12, no water in his lungs, fully clothed, only dead for 2 to 5 days after being missing for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it sounds like a botched fucking investigation to me.
And they don't want to seem incompetent, so they don't reopen it.
Right.
Dicks. Next, Mr. Stephen Kubacki.
If you or a loved one have suffered from Kubaki.
It's better than Bukaki, I guess.
If you or a loved one have taken Kubaki.
Oh, I'd hate to.
Is that what cures Paulides? You take Kubaki?
No, this actually makes Paulides worse.
Oh, okay.
Although he was found a year later, this is still a very strange one. Stephen disappeared while fishing/skiing near Lake Michigan.
Oh, yeah, I know this one. This one is weird.
Yeah, did we tell it already?
No, I don't think we did.
Okay.
Okay.
Stephen's tracks were followed in the snow, and they suddenly stopped like he had vanished. When he was found, the only thing he could remember was waking up in a field with a backpack close to him full of strange maps he wasn't familiar with. Stephen had also mentioned that he felt like he had just finished running a long distance. Stephen Kubacki, who went missing in February of 1978 while in the state of Michigan in the United States. Kubacki's skis and ski poles were found abandoned upon the snow and ice. His tracks were said to have suddenly just stopped as if he had walked out of reality with his backpack. Oh, with his backpack flung to the ground nearby. How would they know it was flung and not just dropped?
That's a fair question.
Since the location where he has vanished was so close to Lake Michigan, it was assumed that he had somehow fallen into the lake and drowned.
It's not an unfair assumption.
February 1978 was a big blizzard, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So February, it would have been well past frozen.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't wander to the edge of the ice and fall the fuck in. The whole lake don't freeze.
That year it did.
I would have to see some evidence of that.
Damn it, you made me lose my spot. Okay. Despite numerous searches, no one had any clue of where he could have gone, and he just seemed to step off the face of the earth. That is, until 15 months later, when he just strolled right up to his dad's house. When Kubaki was asked about what had happened to him or where he had been the whole time, his account didn't seem to make much sense. He claimed that he had suddenly woken up to find himself in a meadow around 40 miles from his father's house, and that he had been wearing clothes that were not his own, along with a small, unfamiliar bag laying next to him containing maps, none of which were his. Other than this, he had no recollection whatsoever about what had happened to him over the previous 15 months, and indeed, he was under the impression that no time had passed at all. The only other clue that he could come up with is that he felt like he had done some running. It is unknown just what happened to him, and he has continued to avoid talking about it. Deerfield, Massachusetts. A 24-year-old former college student who was believed to have drowned last year in Lake Michigan is back home. This is the newspaper clipping.
Right.
Saying he has no memory of the last 14 months of his life. Steven says he woke up Saturday night 40 miles from his father's house. He was the subject of an intensive search after his skis and backpack were found along the Lake Michigan shoreline south of Holland, Michigan on February 20th, 1978. They told us he slipped under the ice. Kubaki's father, John, a 53-year-old retired factory worker, said on Sunday. We didn't believe that. He told me that he had just lost consciousness and didn't remember anything until he woke up in Pittsfield. The younger Kubaki said he was lying in a meadow when he awoke Saturday. I didn't know where I was, he said. I was wearing clothes that weren't mine, and I started going through a pack which I assumed was mine, and I found maps. I would guess I was hitchhiking. I didn't know what the date was until I walked into town and got a newspaper. He said he turned up without warning Saturday night at his aunt's home in Great Barrington, 700 miles almost directly east from the point at which he disappeared. 700 miles, it's a hell of a walk.
That is one hell of a stroll.
Kubaki, who has climbed mountains in Europe, said he had a vague theory about the blackout. He says erased 14 months of his life. The only thing I can think of is what mountain climbers suffer from loss of body heat and exhaustion, he said in a telephone interview Sunday. That combination can result in temporary loss of memory. I have some very vague feelings. I have some running shoes. I feel like I've done a lot of running. I also have a marathon t-shirt from Wisconsin. I don't know how I got it.
I can guarantee you this: if I ever come back with a marathon T-shirt, I blacked out too.
Kubaki, a history major at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, arrived home to a college degree granted to him post-dead last May. He said he did not recall being under great emotional distress when he ventured out for cross-country skiing on a frozen Lake Michigan. My father was going to sign over our house to me, he said. I had 3 courses in school and no trouble. I left a romance in Germany. There was no trouble with the girls. I had a job lined up at the Holland Sentinel. He said he would call his family doctor today for a physical check, but he will definitely not see a psychiatrist. Guess what he's doing now?
He's a psychiatrist.
He's a psychoanalyst and psychiatrist.
So he didn't want to see one. He just became one to see if he could figure
Pretty
out what the
much.
fuck happened
Like,
to him.
Yeah, what the fuck happened to me?
I mean, it beats the hell out of Googling it.
You're having a heart attack and you're pregnant.
Yeah, and cancer.
Oh, you have a cancerous pregnancy that's having a heart attack.
Yes.
D, all of the above.
Yeah, that one is kind of weird. He just like Forrest Gumped it across the country for 14 months. I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
Well, so my theory is he turned into an elf, and then you couldn't see the footprints.
That checks out.
And
So first he Legolased it, and then he Forrest Gumped it.
pretty much, yeah. The other theory that I was thinking is Jim Jones. That's when he was kind of big, right? That cult.
I don't know.
What if he was hitchhiking, got picked up, and when everyone drank the Kool-Aid, he was too afraid and meandered away from all the dead bodies.
He only got a sip, and so instead of killing him,
Well, no, just too embarrassed to be like, yeah, I watched 1,000 people drink dead Kool-Aid, and I didn't have the balls to do it. I lost my memory.
yeah, I don't know. It is weird.
Like, plus it was late 70s, so
Maybe he just got into some like really strong
Psychedelics.
LSD. Yeah. Oh,
could be. Maybe he got picked up by a druggie and had a good 14 months that he'll only remember through therapy and will never get.
I don't know. I mean, if you take him at his word, that is weird. It's very, very weird.
I mean, even if you take all the volunteers who looked for him's word, like his footprints just vanished. Like, even if he did it on purpose and like stepped backwards, you can still tell super easily.
I mean, I don't know as if there was an Apache tracker in the group, but
I'm not an Apache tracker. I'm a Potawatomi tracker.
you know, I mean, you think they could have found something.
Yeah. And you're just going to ditch your shit and I'm starting a new life.
Be back in a year and a half.
Hi, Dad. It didn't work. My new friends, they killed themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that is a weird story. I mean, the human brain does weird shit, though. It really could have just blanked out for a while.
So that reminds me of a story. It's actually, I can't even remember where it was, but this dude went for a walk in the woods. Next thing he knows, he like wakes up 5 hours later, or not even wakes up. He's just like poof against a tree 5 hours later, and he's got this little shiny ball in his hand, and it's got like a little teeny tiny thumbprint on it, but it's too small for his, and he woke up holding it, and he ended up going to a psychiatrist or a what's it called, the hypnotherapist, and he was abducted by aliens.
Well, fuck.
Oh,
I don't know that one. I don't think.
pretty cool.
Might be a good story for the podcast, though.
Nah, we haven't done it yet, so I wanna tell some more stories we've done.
Oh, okay.
Coming next week, Mount Shasta and what it can do to you.
Antonio Villas-Boas.
And Travis Walton again.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
That's starting to get some traction, so might as well tell it again.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And the Dog Man. Revised.
Dog Man revisited. That was the word I was looking for. Son of a bitch. I'm having brain glitches today. I don't know. I'm about to just take off running. I don't know.
Well, take your computer with you so we can still podcast.
Right. Now that it works again. That was weird.
It just forgot it was a computer.
It did. It honestly did.
This thing didn't know it was a computer at first.
Well, you know. Yeah, Jake's got a new computer. I got a revivified computer.
Revivified?
Yeah.
Is that like revived?
Yeah. It's a D&D spell that brings you back from the dead.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. Nerd.
Just so everyone knows, every Saturday, Ben hosts D&D online. Go play with him. He's a paladin.
Almost everything you said in that sentence was untrue. It's every other Friday and at my house.
His address.
That would be stupid.
I will give you his address, but just so you know, every digit in his address, he has 3 guns.
Yes. Roughly. All
Boy,
right,
it
then.
got quiet. All right, your turn. Tell some stories.
I don't have any stories for this one.
What about? I heard one a long time ago about this kid who went missing and like
in Mount
got
Shasta
taken by his grandma.
So there are a lot of these missing 411 stories.
I put part 1 on this because there's going to be a lot of these.
Okay, then I will save my David Paulides rant.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, it's not, I didn't really have time to get it together. The first thing I will say is that every story he puts in the Missing 411 book is verifiably an occurrence. These people were real. They really disappeared and or were found dead. So he's not exactly lying, but some of the stuff that he puts out there is, I feel like he's misrepresenting it. He never comes back and revisits the stories, because there have been some of these people that he called disappeared that have turned up, unalived or otherwise. And he never goes back and revisits it. His criteria, number one, if you're going to set up a criteria for strange occurrences, and you need to have a very narrow list. He has a list. It's like, last time I knew, 14 things long, and he picks and chooses which ones based on the case. It's not like it has to hit all 14. If you watch the documentary Missing 411, I think it's The Hunted on Amazon, they bring up the criteria every time they talk about one of the cases and just show you which criteria it fits. The criteria fit almost everyone who goes missing in the wilderness if you pick and choose like that. So there's just a lot I can say about it, but I'm not saying some of these are not weird. I feel like some of them do have explanations, though, that are, the other part is he never comes out and gives a theory.
He has on Coast to Coast.
He's given a few. He blames Bigfoot. He's blamed portals.
Aliens. Freak natural disasters that happen where people can't see them.
So, yeah, pick your lane, Dave.
That's one we still got to do, is Coast to Coast.
What about it? There's like 30 years of it to do.
I know, but we got to do a tribute to Art Bell.
I mean, we kind of did with Mel's Hole. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Like I said, these all really happened. They're verifiable cases.
And if you don't trust him, trust him. He was a cop.
But they got fired for using his police status to get autographs from celebrities. Anyway.
Hey, at least he wasn't using his police status to get drugs.
That we know of.
No, he can just take that from evidence.
Fair enough. But anyway. So yeah, take all these stories with a grain of salt when they come from Mr. Paulides.
But these are coming from me, so I know they're true.
Right. That's how that works.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't lie to our fans. I almost like every single one of you.
Yeah.
Hurry with the goodbye music.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we thank you so very much for spending your time here with us on the Paranatural Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. If you want to help the show grow, share the show with a friend, hit like, hit subscribe, do all those good things. Until next time, we love you. Good night.
You guys are all right. Stay in school. Bye.